just how hard he hit. And my mama told me homecoming games are the best. On the banks of those late fall, late cartwheel sunsets, I wanted to be just like Jeff Davis when I grew up, tackling Seminoles and Bulldogs, playing football in the mud. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. I feel really sorry for our sisters to the south, 'cause they come up here every other year and get punched in the mouth. Oh, and every home Saturday, it gives us the chills to watch those boys in orange run together down that hill. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Oh, somewhere up in heaven, Gaines Adams makes us sad. And that old Banks McFadden is the best damn running back. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Everybody, damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Oh yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Tuesday to everybody. I'm going to cut right to the chase here. A lot of things I want to talk about as far as college football goes, and even some NFL stuff. Obviously, the first and most glaring thing I'm going to address is this hurricane, Hurricane Florence. Now, first of all, anybody, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, you probably already know I live in the path of this hurricane. Now, it looks like it's going to hit a little bit further north than where I am. We're still in the path of where it could possibly go. Anyway, what I want to say here, before I start talking trash to everybody and get into my normal football shtick, is that anybody who is in the path of this thing, I wish you all luck. I hope you do the same for me. And I've been through this before when I was a kid. A major hurricane. And we like to joke about these things and not take them too seriously, but they can be serious. So anybody who's in the path of this thing, I wish you the best, and I hope that everybody makes it through okay, without, of course, any loss of life or anything terrible like that. And, obviously no damage to your home or your property or anything like that. So now let's get right into the topic of discussion for today. I want to see who's in here first. Good afternoon, George. College football maniac, Orange 1973. My microphone's acting up again. This always happens to me. Fox 87. Good afternoon, sir. Billy Dawson, Clemson Jacob, the Sports Fury, Josh or Sean or both. Good afternoon to you guys too. Great stream last night, by the way. I was thoroughly entertained, as I always am with the Sports Fury. Those guys are amazing and fantastic. Yeah, thanks. Currently, this is Josh. All right, thanks, Josh. You might need to post that every time you come in here. You might need to say, "This is Josh," or "This is Sean," or "This is both." Just makes it easier on Pete. And believe me, I'm not very smart. Anything helps. So now, as far as the hurricane goes, this is going to affect football. You know what? I didn't even think about how it would affect the NFL this week. It's supposed to hit on Friday morning, I think. I'm imagining. I know it. There's been several college football games either postponed or canceled. Some of them haven't been either yet, but will be. So the North Carolina UCF game has been canceled. The NC State West Virginia game has been postponed until further notice, which is going to be canceled. The question is it going to be rescheduled later on in the year or not? I'm guessing not. They're having a discrepancy between the two schools about when to reschedule that. I'm thinking at this point, more than likely the Clemson game will be canceled. They're playing a nobody team in Clemson. And the South Carolina is also playing a nobody team in Columbia, and I think that will probably end up being canceled as well. So there may be more that I don't know of. I'm sure there are, that are going to be either completely canceled or postponed. So Hurricane Florence hates football, and Hurricane Florence hates Peete for two reasons. She's coming into my neck of woods to disrupt my personal life, which I'm never happy about, and she's going to wreak havoc on both my college football weekend, my NFL weekend, and even my YouTube channel. So that'll be a good segue into my next announcement here. So obviously I do my normal live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. I don't know what my Thursday schedule is going to look like, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not supposed to hit till Friday. I may be okay doing it on Thursday afternoon, and I certainly will if I can. As far as what I'm going to be doing this weekend, my plan was, and I was going to announce this today, is that I was going to be doing a live stream play-by-play reaction for the Auburn and LSU game. Super excited about that game. I think it's going to be probably the biggest game of the week in college football, and that's at 3:30 p.m. on Saturday. Now, whether or not I'm able to do that, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, for all I know, this thing could just dump a bunch of rain and I'll be fine. Or we could lose power or worse. And obviously I won't be online. So we'll see. That's it. I don't know what else to tell you. I sure hope I can not only watch football this weekend, but participate as far as YouTube goes. So, will any NFL games be canceled? I didn't even think about that. So I didn't even look into that. To be honest with you guys, there was zero preparation that went into today's show because I didn't have time to do that. I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Obviously, the city where I live is a complete mayhem. They've reversed the interstates to all head west. You can't go east. The grocery stores are closed down. All the Walmarts, everything. I mean, they're almost out of gas. So it's just a complete cluster F here right now. And obviously, I'm trying to get stuff prepared around my house preparing for the worst, hoping for the best. So I haven't really looked into a lot. Anything we talk about today is going to be completely off the top of Pigskin Pete's head, and that's a scary thing because Pigskin Pete's head is hardly even attached to his neck 99% of the time. So to go, Watson, I don't know, man. Yes, it's going to affect us. The question is how bad is it going to affect us? And I obviously hope that it's not bad at all. We'll see. And then it really, what really sucks is I'm sitting here hoping that it hits North Carolina and not South Carolina, which is a terrible thing to say. I mean, you're wishing harm on other people so that you stay safe, and that's just the way it is. But it's a terrible thing for everybody involved. Josh says it's supposed to hit Friday, then some games just may be canceled in the NFL. Yeah, I would imagine so. So I don't know about Atlanta. I see that David from Atlanta's in here. Is there any update on whether or not this is going to affect the Carolina and Atlanta game? You probably know better than me. I haven't looked into it. So, yes, thanks for everybody who's given me well wishes. I appreciate it, and Pigskin Pete will be okay. I'm indestructible, and I can't be harmed. So this hurricane is nothing but a troll, and I'm undefeated against the trolls. So anyway. So what I do want to talk about, I do want to talk about some NFL stuff. But first thing I want to address, I haven't been on YouTube since the game Saturday between Clemson and Texas A&M, so I gotta address that. And I realize that 99% of this country hates Clemson, and anytime a team is a top 2 or 3 team in the country year after year after year for several years. Everyone wants you to lose. Ask Alabama fans. Ask Ohio State fans. They'll tell you. Anybody outside of the state of South Carolina who's not a Clemson fan wants Clemson to lose or even see them struggle. So what I found interesting was I was looking at the now, first of all, I will say Clemson did struggle in the game, so I'm not being a complete homer here. There's a lot of reasons for that. First and the most notable reason is we didn't play up to our standard. We should have never let them get back in that game. Now, having said that, the same jokers that were on here telling me for the week leading up to the game that Clemson was going to lose to Texas A&M are the same ones coming out now laughing because they barely beat them. Well, you thought they were going to beat us anyways, so why is that news to you? Second of all, did anybody stop to think for 2 seconds that maybe Texas A&M is a really good team? This is the reason I don't like preseason rankings. And this is the reason that preseason rankings mean absolutely nothing in the entire scope of college football. The reason the College Football Playoff Committee does not even put out their first ranking until after Week 8 is for reasons like this. So let's just look at the top 25 this week and compare them to Clemson and Texas A&M, and you will see the complete hypocrisy and ludicrousy of this. Michigan State. Michigan State is still ranked in the top 25. Now, Michigan State lost to Arizona State last weekend. Michigan State struggled to beat Utah State week 1. Utah State. I didn't even know Utah State was a college. I didn't even know Utah State had a football team. But they almost beat Michigan State in Michigan State. And then Michigan State travels down to a mediocre at best Arizona State team in the Pac-12 and loses. Yet, the AP poll has Michigan State ranked 25 and Texas A&M ranked 26. Now, is anybody with any sense, anybody that watches more than one college football game a year going to sit here and tell me that they think that Michigan State this year is a better football team than Texas A&M? If you believe that, I have some oceanfront property in Nebraska for you to buy at a very premium price, and it's a beautiful property too. I promise you it is. Next, UCF. UCF is still ranked in the top 25. Texas A&M's not. How many of you out there, raise your hand, if you think that UCF is a better football team than Texas A&M? Not me. Boise State, ranked ahead of Texas A&M. Last week, South Carolina, ranked ahead of Texas A&M. So my point here is you could say they struggled against a non-ranked team in week 2. Well, is South Carolina really a ranked team, or are they terrible? Like we all knew they were. Like they've always been. Now, Texas A&M plays South Carolina this year. We'll find out how good South Carolina is compared to Texas A&M. We'll also find out how good Texas A&M is against other elite teams. They have to play Auburn. They have to play Alabama. They even have to play LSU. So my point is, 6 weeks from now, we'll know if Texas A&M is good or not. 6 weeks from now, we'll know how good Clemson is. 6 weeks from now, we'll know how good South Carolina is. And Auburn and LSU and so on. You get my point. Let me catch up on the comments here. Good afternoon, Lee Smith, Comic Dude. Good afternoon. I'm sure if you're here, you're amazing and fantastic. Otherwise, you would not be here. Mark Dudley. Good afternoon, sir. Let me see what you guys are saying. Paul Jameson probably does. Yeah, and that's the other thing. David in Atlanta, Pete, I have 2 videos up on game on my channel. It'd be nice to see you there. Yeah, listen, David. You see at the bottom of my, I don't know, I'm on the wrong page. My Twitter handle is @PetePigskin. It's Pigskin Pete, but backwards, in case you didn't notice. Add me. If you're not following me on there, follow me. I'll follow you back, and then we can chat privately. I would love to come on and do a preview to this game if I'm able to for the Carolina and Atlanta game. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just got a lot going on, dude. So yeah, I would love to do that. If there's any way I can do that, we'll make it happen. So anyway, what I was getting at was the Big Ten was supposed to be the dominant conference, right, this year in college football preseason. Of course, preseason means absolutely nothing. We learned that last year when Florida State was ranked number 2 in the country the first week of the year, and then they only won 7 games, including a bowl win. So it just doesn't mean anything. Meanwhile, we've seen Michigan lose to Notre Dame. Notre Dame had a struggle win against Ball State, so Notre Dame's not exactly all that in a bag of chips. Although they might be pretty good, but who knows? Michigan State, terrible. Penn State almost lost to something called Appalachian State at home. Had to take them to overtime to win week 1. So basically what I'm getting at here, Wisconsin's good. I'll give you that, even though they don't play anybody. And Ohio State's good. So how good is the Big Ten? Because so far they're pretty underwhelming. I mean, Duke beat Northwestern at Northwestern. Not only did they beat them, they absolutely curb stomped them last week. I think Duke's going to be a pretty good team this year. I think Boston College is going to be a pretty good team this year. So even the Pac-12 is doing pretty well this year compared to normal years. So all this preseason talk about which is the best conference, who has a cupcake schedule versus who doesn't, it all means absolutely nothing. You don't know anything right now. Nothing. And for anybody that thinks that Clemson, which, by the way, won their game on the road against an SEC team. Is everybody forgetting that they actually won the game? People act like they lost the game. Somehow I checked the score. They didn't lose it. Anybody that thinks that Clemson is just going to go away because they struggled on the road against a good Texas A&M team, you're out of your mind. Ohio State hasn't played anybody yet? No, they haven't. We'll see how they do against TCU. Now, they should beat TCU, but it'll be a pretty good measuring stick this weekend to see. Let's see if Ohio State has a struggle win against TCU. And meanwhile, TCU is ranked number 15. Now, is TCU worthy of a 15 ranking when they haven't played anybody either? Who knows? We'll find out this weekend. That could be this game could end up being one of 3 things, and I wouldn't be shocked at any outcome. It could be a struggle win for Ohio State. It could be a blowout. Ohio State should and could blow them out, right? I mean, they've definitely got the talent to do that. And if you talk to an Ohio State fan, they'll tell you that Ohio State's basically an NFL team. Of course, they say that every year. Or, shocker, TCU might even upset Ohio State. Now, any 3 of those things will not shock me because we don't know enough about either team because neither team has played anybody yet. We'll find out this weekend, though. So if you're an Ohio State fan, you better go out there and take care of business. After all the smack you've been talking about Clemson having a close game with A&M. Jimmy C., good afternoon, sir. He says, be back later. Well, you just got here, sir. But hello and goodbye, I guess. Check back in with us. Let's be honest, they haven't been legit for a few years. It was like they popped up and faded away. I don't know which team you're talking about. All right, to go Watson, let me see what he says. He says, Texas A&M first touchdown was lucky throw, should have been intercepted. Second touchdown was between 3 players, should have been intercepted. Third touchdown was tipped. Yeah, here's the other thing. You make good points there to go Watson, but so you have this thing on, especially on social media right now, between A&M and Clemson fans, which I don't even get involved in this because it's pointless and meaningless. So you have A&M fans crying about the touchback call, which if you look at the call, it was the correct call. If you don't like the call, then change the rule. But that's besides the point. You also have Clemson fans saying there was 15 or 20 blatant holding calls that were not called against Texas A&M. Both those things may be true. They may not. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. The point is, the only thing that matters at the end of the game is the score. Who won? That's it. Clemson Jacob says, I was disappointed in our secondary. That's definitely our weakness on the team this year. Yes, it's been the weakness on our team. And I will tell you this. So you've got to, first of all, here's the thing that people are overlooking. You've got to give a big credit to Kellen Mond. He played out of his mind. Any other quarterback, virtually any other quarterback, not all, would have been sacked 15 times in that game. First of all, there was 12 quarterback knockdowns in that game. We knocked him down 12 times and had several sacks. We were in his face the entire game. He played great. Not only was he able to escape the pressure a lot of times, but he was able to get out of the pocket and make plays with his arms on the run, which is very hard to do. So Clemson's defense, the front seven anyway, did not play bad. They were penetrating the line and getting pressure on him on every single play. Give the kid credit. He was able to get away from the pressure and make plays, period. So you got to give credit to A&M's offensive line and their quarterback. And their receivers made some very tough catches, contested catches. At the same time, Clemson's secondary blew some coverages. It was a combination of both things. So having said all that, if A&M's offense played out of their mind, number one, and Clemson's defense didn't play up to their standard and still won the game. So that's two things you have to keep in mind there. And the other thing is, I'm very interested to see how Texas A&M plays against some of these other SEC teams in the West, and of course against South Carolina. So we'll see. All the LSU fans are coming on Pigskin Pete's YouTube channel in the comments section saying, "Oh, Clemson has a weak schedule and they got exposed by A&M." Well, you still have to play them, so we'll see what happens. You know, if you lose to A&M, will you still be talking that mess? I doubt it. A 19 Savage, stop spamming, sir. Yeah, you're right. We got Clemson Jacob. We got tons of pressure on him, and he just kept getting away. The funniest thing on YouTube, other than Paul Jameson right now. I really do like Paul Jameson. He's a good guy, but he's definitely delusional. All right, so now let's. I do want to touch on some NFL stuff, just because it's fresh in my mind. Obviously, the two games last night. Let's just take away the two and most notable things that happened this past weekend in the NFL. Start with last night. John Gruden made a major mistake by letting Khalil Mack go, didn't he? Big time mistake. So I saw a stat, and this is a pretty funny stat. Khalil Mack, that Bears game against the Packers, single-handedly had more tackles for loss, more sacks, more fumbles caused, and more interceptions than the entire Oakland Raiders defense did last night. Khalil Mack himself. He's a dominant player. If Josh is still on here, I mean, you've got to be ecstatic to have him. He's a franchise-changing player. The guy's an absolute monster. He was a nightmare for Aaron Rodgers all night. Meanwhile, Oakland couldn't stop a runny nose last night. Todd Gurley looked like the best player in the history of the NFL out there last night. Hell, the entire LA Rams offense looked like the best offense in the history of the NFL last night, didn't they? I mean, Oakland couldn't stop anything. John Gruden is going to have a rough go of it by letting Khalil Mack go, that's for sure. The other thing was Sam Darnold for the Jets. I know Jet Central's got to be stoked. Sam Darnold played out of his mind last night. Comes out there for his first play as an NFL quarterback, a 21-year-old kid. Throws a pick six. Now, most 21-year-old kids who throw a pick six, their first start in the NFL would be, it would affect them. Didn't affect him at all, did it? He just came out there and looked like Aaron Rodgers the rest of the game. I mean, amazing. Now, how long, was that just an anomaly? Will he come back down to earth? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, he was impressive, and that was an impressive win by the Jets. Did I win or lose my fantasy this week? I lost it. You want to know why? So I had Deshaun Watson as my quarterback, and he laid an egg. And I'm glad you asked me that. The trolls, you know who watches football and who doesn't. So Deshaun Watson goes out there last year, puts together the best 6-game stretch by a starting rookie quarterback in the history of the NFL. 19 passing touchdowns, several rushing touchdowns, thousands of yards in 6 games. He goes out there after hardly playing like 3 snaps in the entire preseason, coming off of an ACL surgery, hadn't played football in almost a year in a live game. And he struggled. Meanwhile, he had no offensive help either. I mean, line help. He's running around for his life back there. He struggled first game. All of a sudden, Deshaun Watson's overrated. He's not going to last in the NFL. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, anybody who thinks that does not watch football. Now, you wait. I promise you. Mark my words. He's going to be a great player this year. He's not going anywhere. Next week, he'll be 100% better, and the week after that, he'll be 100% better than he was then, and so on. By the middle of the season, he's going to be back to his normal form, and he'll be an elite fantasy quarterback and just overall quarterback. So Deshaun Watson really lost me my fantasy this week. Who else did I have that late in the night? Jimmy Graham. I had Jimmy Graham starting as my tight end in my fantasy league, and Jimmy Graham got 1 point. Terrible. Oh, yes, definitely the most shocking thing in all of the NFL this week was the Buccaneers and Ryan Fitzpatrick. 4 touchdowns, 5 total, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, 400-something passing yards from a backup quarterback. Now, I'm still not scared of the Bucs. Yeah, I mean, by the time that we play them, Jameis Winston will be back, and he's terrible. Well, he's not terrible, but he's not good. Clemson Jacobs is upset. He's a Saints fan. Clemson Jacob, you chose the wrong team. You've got the right college team. You're a Clemson fan, but you chose the Saints, man. Come on. How did you guys let that happen? The Bucs are one of the worst teams in the NFL. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they might end up going to the playoffs for all I know. But, I mean, on paper, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Hey, Pete, just so you know, we lost Keanu Neal and Deion Jones, so yeah, our season is basically over. I did not know that. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't like injuries. So as much as I don't want your team to succeed on a personal level, I hate to see your season end because of injuries. That's never a good thing. You called Deshaun Watson overrated. I didn't. I don't know. You're talking to me. All right, David in Atlanta, I'll get you on Twitter after I get offline, sir. Yeah, anybody who thinks that Deshaun Watson is overrated is 1, a hater, or 2, hasn't watched football before. Or watches football but doesn't pay attention to it. One of those 3 things. Yeah, Matt Ryan's overrated for sure. Tell you who else is overrated, Matt Stafford. They just gave this guy $90 million in an extension for 5 or 6 years. Guy goes out there last night. He looks like the rookie. Throws 4 picks. Sad and embarrassing. Matt Stafford. How long has he been there now? How old is Matt Stafford? Matt Stafford's been there for 5 or 6 years? Hell no, longer than that. He's been there almost a decade, hasn't he? The guy's never won a playoff game. Never won the division. They gave him a raise and an extension, and he goes out there last night and lays a complete egg. Looks like a complete rookie. And on the other side of the ball, you have an actual rookie throwing darts and touchdowns. Matt Stafford is not the answer. If you're a Lions fan, I'd be very worried. Of course, if you're a Lions fan, you're used to losing, so no big deal. Pete, after watching Odell Beckham's performance, do you think he's worth the money he got? Yes, I think Odell Beckham's worth every penny they paid him. I think that the quarterback they have, listen, Eli Manning is he's past his prime. Time to move on from him. It's that simple. I'm not saying he's a terrible quarterback. Eli Manning, he's not winning you Super Bowls. He's not going to win you the division probably. Problem's not Odell. It's the guy throwing him the ball. Yeah, Stafford was drafted in '09, so he's 9 years. He's been in the league nine. This is his ninth year. So he's never done anything in 9 years, and he's what the second or third highest paid quarterback in the league. Good afternoon, Hound Dog. He says it was crazy seeing Gruden on the sideline last night. Yes, it was kind of weird, wasn't it? I'm glad he's back on the sideline. It's great for football. I think that John Gruden is in for a rude awakening. A lot has changed in the NFL since the last time he was coaching, and he's going to have to adjust to that. And he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that likes to adjust to anything. He's a pretty hard-headed, egotistical guy. And you saw that with the Khalil Mack thing. He should have paid Khalil Mack whatever. If Khalil Mack wanted $1 billion and it was in the salary cap, he should have paid it to him, period. He basically forfeited their season when he didn't pay Khalil Mack. KV Inglisi. I hope I'm Kevin Glacy. I don't know if that's how you say your name, sir. Good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. I'm sure if you're here, you're amazing and fantastic. Otherwise, you would not be here. He says, what games were canceled? I don't know if you're talking about college or NFL. There's been half of a dozen college games canceled for sure. And I don't know anything about any NFL games being canceled, but I would imagine there will be. I don't know. I'm guessing Atlanta's probably going to be okay. That game should still go on. Carolina and Atlanta. Is there a game in Tennessee this week? Is there a game in Washington this week? Those would be the ones. Tennessee and Washington would be the most likely ones that were canceled if there's games there, I would imagine. They should play in the hurricane, says 19 Savage. Yeah. Right. That makes sense. I agree, sir. Billy Dawson says Redskins loaded up with a bunch of Alabama defensive players. They shut down the run in Carolina's Bradford is made of glass. Cardinals. Bradford, sorry. Yes, he is made of glass. I will have to say this. I was more impressed with the Redskins than I thought the Redskins were going to be terrible this year. I do believe, however, the problem with the Redskins is they downgraded at quarterback. They got rid of Cousins, and they got Alex Smith. Yes, Alex Smith's a good quarterback. He's not as good as Cousins. So they were an average team last year, and they downgraded at the most important position on the football field. Now, they did make some pretty good improvements in their defense and in some of their skill positions. So it may even out. At the end of the day, though, the Redskins, I seriously doubt they're going to win the East, the NFC East, and I just don't see them really making a push deep into the playoffs with Alex Smith. We've seen Alex Smith on an elite team in Kansas City for years, and he couldn't get it done there. I don't see him getting it done at Washington either. The GOAT says, Panthers looked really good, especially on defense. We already know their defense is going to be amazing. I'm really excited about the Panthers season this year. I'm not going to overreact to the one game because let's face it, the Cowboys aren't very good. They're just not. They don't have any offensive firepower. They have Ezekiel Elliott, and that's it. You can't just have one guy carrying your entire offense, especially when you're playing against good defenses like they're going to see all year. I mean, the Giants have a good defense. The Redskins have a good defense. The Eagles have a good defense. That's just the teams in their division. And obviously, Carolina has a good defense. You know what? This might be one of the worst years for the Cowboys that we've seen in a while. They might not win 8 games. And I'm not kidding. I'm not trolling or trying to trash talk. If I'm being serious here, the Cowboys might win 5 or 6 games this year. That's how bad they are. They have a pretty good defense, though. I will give them that much. But they had nothing on offense. I mean, nothing. Cole Beasley is their number one receiver. Cole Beasley is their number one receiver. Did anybody ever think you would hear that sentence come out of anybody's mouth? Cole Beasley? You got to be kidding me. Falcons Fury is still very, very upset and distraught about Florida losing to Kentucky. Listen, man, how many teams out there can say that they beat somebody 31 years in a row? I mean, of course, listen, it's only a matter of time before you lose to them. Now, I know you didn't want to lose to them this year because you got Dan Mullet and you were excited about your new coach and your new season and all that. But let's face it. Kentucky is better than people think they are. I've been saying this. Go back in a couple of months before the season started and watch my dark horse video pick. I can't remember exactly what it was called. Something like that. I said in that video, first of all, my dark horse for the SEC East was Missouri because of Drew Lock. But I did say in that video, because I'm a genius and I'm amazing and fantastic, everybody already knows that Kentucky could finish second in the East. And right now, after 2 weeks, nonetheless, I'm not going to overreact here, but they absolutely could finish second in the East if they beat South Carolina, right? They're not going to beat Georgia. We know that. So it's conceivable that Georgia could win the East and Kentucky could come in second. So we'll see. But listen, Kentucky's not terrible. They're not the Kentucky of old. Now, they're not great, but they're not terrible. They had their duck, goose. We look like soft toilet paper against Kentucky. I don't care if it was 3,200 years. It's still Kentucky. Yeah, well, listen, man. You can lay... Again, now, I'm not even... You know I'm not a Florida fan. Don't overreact to this. Just don't. It happens. Teams get beat every single week by teams that aren't as good as them. Every single week in college football. Every week. So just calm down. Now, if you go out there and lose to Missouri or Vanderbilt or even Tennessee at this point, then start worrying. Or South Carolina. As of right now, don't jump off the bridge yet, sir. Damn watch is beeping again. Bryce Love is out 3 weeks. Is that true? Damn it! He's on my college fantasy team. Is that true, Billy Dawson? I'm assuming it is. You don't normally troll me, so I'm assuming you're being serious. Kentucky was the best team in Florida. That's actually true. Sadly, that's true. Reynaldo Gonzalez, good afternoon, sir. And Nick Bro, I don't know if I shouted you out. Good afternoon, sir. I'm sure if you're here, you're amazing and fantastic. Otherwise, you would not be here. He says, Pete, any cancellations on games this weekend? Yes. NC State, West Virginia is canceled. North Carolina, UCF is canceled. I'm assuming, I'm not sure, 100% sure about this yet. I tend to believe that the Clemson game will probably be canceled. It's very close to the North Carolina border, very close to Charlotte. So yes, there'll be flooding and high winds in Clemson and even in Columbia. I would imagine that the South Carolina game, the Clemson game, the NC State game, and the North Carolina game will all be canceled, and maybe even more than that. I don't know. Ronaldo Gonzalez says he's new to my channel. He subscribed last week. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate your sub. And I don't know if you're a college fan or an NFL fan or both. We have a lot of fun on here. I don't know. Who's your team? Hopefully you have a thick skin because there's a very, very good chance that sometime during the football season, I'm going to say some things about your team you don't like unless you're a Clemson fan. And sometimes people get scared and run away. They don't have very thick skin. It's all in fun, trust me. Oh, it's fun for me anyway. I don't know about you. Christian Alanis, good afternoon, sir. He says, sup, ready to beat Ole Miss Rebels. Yeah, I think that I'm assuming you must be an Alabama fan. You're not losing to Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss is not terrible, but they're not on Alabama's level. You guys should roll right through them. They don't. Ole Miss has a pretty good offense. They don't have any defense at all, though. Ronaldo Gonzalez says Gators and Jaguars. Okay, well then hopefully you do stick around because those are two teams that I will definitely be ragging on at some point during the season. Don't take it personal, sir. Ronaldo Gonzalez is Gamecock Steve. Is that true? Felipe Franks is a lot better now than the rest of the team. Look bad, go figure. Yeah, like I said, don't overreact. Lee Smith says he's been a Georgia fan for 40 years. He can't run when they're talked about. Well, that's my kind of guy. Lee Smith, you will fit right in, like a square in a square hole. Even I was about to say a square in a round hole, but that wouldn't fit very good, would it? Yeah. So I have lots of Georgia fans. I would venture to say that outside of well, not even outside. You know what? I think I have more Georgia fans that watch my videos than any other fan base, and that includes Clemson. Might be a pretty close tie with Clemson. Well, I know this for sure. More SEC fans do than ACC fans. That's without a doubt. I know that for a fact. Ronaldo says, what do I think of Clemson's close win? Well, I don't know if you must have missed the first part of my stream here. I went into a very long diatribe about that. I don't want to bore anybody who isn't here before and go through that whole thing again. Basically, I think that there was a combination of two things: Clemson not playing quite up to their standard, and Texas A&M being better than people thought they were. But we'll find that out. We don't really know now because Clemson hasn't played anybody other than Texas A&M that's any good, and Texas A&M hasn't played anybody other than Clemson that's any good up to this point. So we'll find out. We'll find out how good Texas A&M really is. I think that they're going to end up being a top 15 or 20 team by the end of the season. They've got some tough games though. They got to play Auburn. They got to play Alabama. They got to play LSU. I think they'll beat South Carolina, quite honestly. But we'll see. So I was a little bit disappointed that Clemson's defense gave up the big plays that they gave up. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with a win. You can call it a struggle win. You can call it whatever you want. They went on the road in a tough environment, in a primetime game with the whole world watching, and found a way to win. So that's basically in a nutshell how I feel about it. Living through the Ray Goff years is comparable to the potato famine. What are my thoughts on the Carolina Panthers? Well, you'll definitely have to rewatch the stream because I talked about that too. I'm very excited for the Panthers. Now, here's the thing that I am a little bit worried about is Olsen's out for a while. Olsen got hurt. He re-broke the same foot he broke last year and had to have surgery on. He missed 11 games last year. He's probably going to miss at least that many this year. He's one of the stars of the offense. I mean, Greg Olsen's a top 5 tight end in the NFL. Nobody's disputing that. The only thing I could say about that, though, is they won 11 games last year without him. And, not to mention, they got a 4th-round draft pick on Ian Thomas, who is a very, very good rookie tight end. Is he going to go out there and do what Greg Olsen does as a rookie? No, he's not. And he's obviously going to need some time to learn. But he's very good, and I'm very excited to have him as our second choice. So, in a nutshell, I'm very optimistic about the Carolina Panthers season. I think they can win the division and make the playoffs for their 3rd straight year. And after that, I couldn't tell you. The NFC is so stacked right now; it's hard to say what they would do in the playoffs. But I think the Panthers will make the playoffs this year. Gamecock Steve hasn't. Yeah, he's. I'm pretty sure Gamecock Steve probably deleted his YouTube profile. I would have if I were him. I've never seen somebody talk so much crap in my life on YouTube. He takes the cake, and after that drubbing that Georgia put on South Carolina, I don't know how he could show his face. I wouldn't. Actually, I would, but I'm obviously much tougher than anybody with the name Gamecock Steve. So. Bill Curry was a coach that left for Kentucky and made them a dumpster dive. Yeah. Gamecock Steve is now Clemson Steve. I don't know. I saw that. I don't know if that was actually him or if that's someone trolling him. 19 Savage says that Texas owns Alabama. No one believes you. Hey, 19 Savage, stop losing to Maryland, and we might take you seriously. Until then, we're not going to do that. You reference Kentucky to remind me of something. Falcons Fury says he hates Colin Cowherd so much. Before week 1, he called us the best team in football, and because we had no injuries, now look. Well, first of all, Colin Cowherd is the biggest troll on radio and TV. Here's one thing you'll find out about Colin Cowherd. He doesn't have any allegiance to any one team, but he has a hardcore allegiance to West Coast teams. He loves Josh Rosen. He loves Sam Darnold. He thought that Deshaun Watson was not a very good quarterback in college. Meanwhile, he's the best quarterback all 3 years that he was in college football. Who else? Oh, he doesn't like Alabama, of course, because they're a Southern team. He hates the Southeast. He hates the East Coast, and he loves and praises and props up any West Coast team: USC, UCLA, any play Oregon, in Washington, anybody that plays on the West Coast. He's a West Coast homer. So that's what you got to know about Colin Cowherd. I don't really take anything he says seriously. He didn't like Baker Mayfield either, in college or in the NFL. So I was listening to Colin Cowherd today actually, and talk about beating his chest about the way Sam Darnold played yesterday. I told you, Sam Darnold. He's already put Sam Darnold in the Hall of Fame, at the NFL Hall of Fame after one game. He's a Hall of Famer now, he says. Yeah. Pigskin Pete, do you think anybody can beat Oklahoma in the Big 12, especially with their running back being out? West Virginia, maybe. Yeah, I would say there's only 2 teams that I think have even a chance to beat Oklahoma. And I'm not even saying beat them in the Big 12, but beat them in one game. And that would be TCU and West Virginia. West Virginia, obviously, because of Will Greer in that offense. I think West Virginia's for real. I'm not sold on their defense. And then TCU has the best defense in the Big 12 year in, year out. Not even close. And they always have a pretty good offense. So we'll see. We'll learn more about TCU this weekend when they play Ohio State. I don't expect TCU to beat Ohio State, but if they even keep it close, that'll impress me. But there's your answer. Those are the 2 teams I even give a shot to beat Oklahoma, TCU, and West Virginia. SEC Football Tube, thank you. Thank you, I guess. I think I'll be okay. I hope. My plan for Florence is to lock my doors. I have plenty of beer and water, which is all that really matters. And I have some food, too. That's optional, though. Beer and water is all that really matters, and batteries. So, we'll be all right. He's the one that said Saban's not an elite coach and cannot recruit. Well, clearly that's a moronic statement. After game interviews needs more trolls for people like Mayfield. Prince 6'1". Good afternoon, sir. I already know Prince 6'1" is amazing and fantastic. Otherwise, he would not be here. But I knew that before he even came on. 19 Savage says Nick Saban is overrated. Well, if Nick Saban is overrated, then Tom Herman is dumpster juice. How about that? The Saints should apologize were hyping up that defense only to get toasted by Fitzmagic. Who gave him that nickname, Fitzmagic? That must be a Saints. I love when people get in arguments. You guys are doing it now about football teams. The go-to thing is how many national championships y'all have. Well, national championships are irrelevant to now. I mean, do you have one in the past 10 years? Do you even have one in the past 20 years? You're somewhat relevant if you do. Or you are relevant if you do. But, I don't know. If you're a Michigan fan, and you've got one half of one national title in the past 70 years, don't start talking about you have 11 national titles and you're a better team than Clemson. Are you out of your friggin' mind? 10 national titles before 1950 don't count. And your half of a national title in 1997, when you really didn't win the title, Nebraska did, doesn't count either. So in my mind, Michigan has 0 national titles. Okay, a half of one, maybe. Paul Jameson, y'all sneak one out against A&M. Wait a minute. We snuck what out against A&M? A win? We snuck a what out in the playoff against A&M? A win? A win, right? Right. 2-0, sir. Try not to lose to Iowa by 55 points this year before we take you seriously. As a matter of fact, you better go take care of business at TCU. And your schedule is getting softer by the minute, sir. Michigan's terrible, and Michigan State lost to Arizona State. But by the end of the season, Paul Jameson's schedule is going to look worse than Clemson's. Yeah, Clemson should have beat him by more. You got Paul Jameson and Prince 6'1" both missed the beginning of my stream when I gave my in-depth analysis. Am I on drugs? No. Northwestern lost to Duke, sir. Penn State had to go to overtime with something called App State. Michigan State loses to a lower-tier Pac-12 school, Arizona State. Michigan hasn't won anything since before I was born. But the Big 12 is the toughest conference in the country, right, sir? Meanwhile, the Big Ten, I mean... And meanwhile, the Big Ten's been at the playoffs twice in the past 4 years and hasn't scored a single goddamn point. But I'm on drugs. Yeah, we'll see about that. If you think that Clemson is scared of Ohio State, you must not have been watching the past 3 times we played you and beat you. Wait. We've only played you 3 times. And we beat you all 3. So who's on drugs now? I love you, Paul. Hey, Paul, who on Ohio State's schedule is tougher than Texas A&M? I'll wait. Go ahead, I'll wait. I can't wait to see what he types in there. It's going to be funny, whatever it is. Yeah, South Carolina, Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship. So now the only good team you're playing all year is in the Big Ten championship. Is that right? Is that what you're telling me now? So now you're backtracking because a week ago, Penn State, Michigan State, and Michigan were tough. Now it's just Wisconsin. Yeah. Let me tell you something, sir. I bet you everything I own that Texas A&M would beat anybody in the Big Ten East other than Ohio State. They'd beat Michigan. They beat Penn State. They beat Michigan State. They probably even beat Wisconsin. Honestly. But we'll see. We don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see how good Texas A&M really is because they got to play some really tough teams this year. Yeah, Wisconsin doesn't play anybody. You're right. Now, I will say this though. I'll give credit where credit is due. I don't. It's not Wisconsin's fault who's on their schedule. I think Wisconsin would be good no matter what division they're in. I mean, I really do. I think Wisconsin's an elite. They're a top 5 football program right now. So I'm not going to say Wisconsin is definitely good. Ohio State is definitely good. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I will give 19 Savage. Savage, are you kidding me right now with that? I lost my train of thought now. 19 Savage, you've been here long enough to know better than that, sir. What is wrong with you? I forgot what I forgot what I was talking about. Anyway, listen, it's been an hour. I gotta go. I apologize. I lost my train of thought. Oh, anyway, yes. The Big Ten and Ohio State and Wisconsin are elite. There you go. That's what you got. The rest of the conference is not good. Sorry. Believe me, there's 2 teams in the ACC that are just as good as Ohio State and Wisconsin, Clemson, and we'll see who else. Obviously, it's not Florida State. We all know that. Anyway, all right, guys. So here's the thing with the hurricane coming. I'm planning on coming back on Thursday at 4 p.m. if I'm able to. It's going to depend on the weather, and obviously, I think I'll probably be okay. I don't think the storm's supposed to hit till that night, but who knows? So I'll plan on seeing you then. And as far as Saturday goes, for the Auburn and LSU game, which I'm really looking forward to streaming during, I really don't know what's going to happen with that. If we don't get the worst of the storm and I still have power, I will definitely be streaming for that. So tell your friends about it. Shout it out from a mountaintop. Tattoo it on your forehead. If you tattoo it on your forehead, make sure you tattoo it backwards so that when you look in the mirror, it reads correctly. Share it on Twitter. Share it with your neighbors even. I don't care what you got to do. Just do it. And I hope anybody who's in the path of the storm, if I don't see you again for some reason, is okay. Everyone be safe. Thanks to all my mods. Thanks for all the new subscribers that have come in and commented. I appreciate all of you, even Paul Jamison and the rest of you trolls. I'm just kidding. You guys are all amazing and fantastic. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You already know that. So I guess that's it. Yeah. Have a great day. Don't let your house get blown over, I guess. Pigskin Pete, checking out.